Hello guys, and welcome to my review of Seth MacFarlane's third live-action film, and also the sequel to Ted 2. Unlike his first two live-action movies, Ted and A Million Ways to Die in the West, I don't own this one on Blu-ray, but it is on the UK Netflix. That's how I watched it. The first Ted and A Million Ways to Die in the West used to be on Netflix as well, but they took them off. Only the second Ted is on there now, so yeah, but it's a good thing I bought first Ted and A Million Ways to Die in the West on Blu-ray, so yeah. So the story of Ted 2 is that basically Ted and Tammy Lynn basically have fallings out, and they want to, get a kid to sort out their try and make their relationship stronger, and basically they first try and get a sperm donation from Sam Jones, the guy who plays Flash Gordon, and then try and get one from Tom Brady, and also try and get a donation from John, Ted's best friend. But then they decide to adopt, but they realise they can't officially adopt because Ted isn't legally considered a person, and basically they try and fight to get Ted to be considered a person. Yeah. And another thing I should point out is that John and Laurie are divorced in this one because in real life Mila Kunis was pregnant at the time, so she couldn't be in the sequel, which is kind of a shame because the fact that they got married at the end was really nice, but it's a shame. But I understand the real world reason. Ted 2, this is not as good as the first Ted for me, but I still think this is a good sequel. I'd say I enjoyed this more than A Million Ways to Die in the West, but I do still enjoy that film. But this is better than that, and but I still think the first Ted is better than both of them. What I enjoyed about this is you really do support Ted and want him to be considered a person, and you also have their lawyer is played by Amanda Seyfried, who was also in A Million Ways to Die in the West. She plays Samantha Leslie Jackson, which means her full name is also Sam L. Jackson, and she doesn't know who that is. And there's also a joke where to be considered a person, Ted has to have a surname. So he chooses Clubberlang, which is a character from Rocky IV, and Sam L. Jackson doesn't know who that is either. And John is you don't know Samuel L. Jackson, you don't know Rocky, you are literally pop culture illiterate. And then she names a bunch of authors and says, "Have you ever heard of any of those?" And Ted's "No, but I'm pretty sure Mr. T could kick their ass." And I love there's a joke about she asks, do you know who wrote The Great Gatsby? F. Scott Fitzgerald. Well, why are you saying fuck him? What? You just said F. Scott Fitzgerald. What did Scott Fitzgerald ever do to you? No, that's his name. His name's Fuck Scott Fitzgerald. So yeah. I actually prefer there's a deleted scene from that where the scene in the first film where John's listing a bunch of girls' names. They had a scene like that in where John lists, instead of listing a bunch of girls' names, he lists a bunch of surnames of movie characters, which I thought was a very fun deleted scene. It's a shame they kind of took it out of the theatrical version. And you also have Giovanni Ribisi returning as Donny from the first Ted, and he also worked with Seth MacFarlane in A Million Ways to Die in the West. And his plot in this is he basically, because Ted isn't legally considered a person, he wants him to be not considered a person, so that they can he can kidnap him and try and get manufacture many other Teds talking sentient Teds just like him, because, you know, if he's not considered a person, you know, it's more considered like a minor theft rather than, you know, kidnapping, which I did kind of feel like, you know, having Giovanni Ribisi's character was kind of rehashing from the first one. I kind of wish they'd kind of had a different villain for the second film, but, you know, he still does a good job. His son isn't in this one this time, which I guess maybe that's because the actor was a bit older, and maybe now in 2015, which was the year this came out, maybe he would have been a bit too old to be, you know, playing with a teddy bear. I don't know, maybe that's the reason, I don't know. Although, I mean, I still do have teddy bears, but, you know, I don't really, like, sleep with them or anything like that, you know, I just have them. And I also think the ending with Comic-Con, I had a lot of fun with that scene. And what's funny is, like, you know, like, Patrick Warburton and Michael Dorn, or I think maybe that's his name, but they dressed up as... Patrick Warburton dressed up as, you know, the Tick, and Michael Dorn dressed up as, you know, his character Worf from Star Trek, which, you know, those were characters that they played, which I thought was very cool, and I thought overall it was a very funny scene. And, you know, you see the Flash Gordon guy again at Comic-Con, and he's also at the beginning at Ted and Tammy Lynn's wedding. So, yeah, I guess... the way they have Sam Jones, you know, from Flash Gordon in the Ted movies, it reminds me a lot of how they have Adam West in Family Guy, you know, how, you know, they have an actor from, you know, something really cheesy and old, but, you know, people love it because it's really cheesy. They also have, because in A Million Ways to Die in the West, they also made jokes about... Amanda Seyfried having big eyes, and they also make jokes like that in this, where there's one point where Ted calls Sam Jackson Gollum because, you know, her eyes, and, you know, just like how she doesn't know who Samuel L. Jackson is, and she doesn't know who Clubberlang is, she didn't know who Gollum is either, and she's like, who's that? And then John says, oh, she's a model, you know. And then at the Comic-Con scene, she sees someone who's actually dressed as Gollum, which I thought was very funny. And I thought it was a really nice ending when, you know, Ted is considered a person legally, and he's allowed to adopt a baby, and he names the baby. He names the baby Apollo Creed Clubberlang. Apollo Creed is another character from Rocky, obviously, and he gives him like a little tiny teddy bear, which I thought was very cute. And yeah, they sort of said, like, maybe you could wish, you know, for that teddy to come alive, which I thought was very cute as well. So overall, yeah, Ted, I think Ted 2, I think, is a very good sequel. Not quite as good as the first one, but still very good. And I mentioned another scene that I found very funny that I thought I should mention is when you know, they're not allowed to adopt a baby, and Ted's like, I don't understand, we would have been such great parents, and then he starts smoking weed, you know. But yeah, Ted 2 is a very funny sequel, and yeah, I think if you like the first one, you'll probably like this. Yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.